Hi folks, hope you are doing great. In this video, I'm going to talk about the XACML support in WSO2 Identity Server. XACML stands for Extensible Access Control Markup Language. It's an OS's standard. The latest version of XACML is XACML 3.0. WSO2 Identity Server supports XACML, and it's the only standard for fine-grained access control over there. So there are multiple other implementations to solve the same problem, but then again XACML is the only standard from a standard body, that is from OSs. XACML has three main things. One is the XACML architecture, then XACML policy language, and then the XACML request response protocol. I have put a small diagram here. So this is to explain the XACML architecture. So there are four main components in a XACML architecture, that is PAP or the policy administration point, PDP policy decision point, and then PEP policy enforcement point, and then PIP policy information point. Okay. The way it happens is, first the administrator will log into the policy administration point. So policy administration point is a place where administrator can create policies, update policies, and do any changes to policies. So you create the policies first, and then policies will get stored in the policy store. So that's the initial part. Then you have the services. So these are the protected services or the APIs, and you have the clients who want to access these APIs. Then you need to have an interceptor to intercept all the requests coming from these clients to the APIs. So you intercept them using a policy enforcement point. Okay. So if it is a web application, then the policy enforcement point can be a servlet filter or a Tomcat valve or any other proxy. And also if it is APIs, then PEP can be an API gateway. Okay. So the PEP will intercept the request and will find out who the user is and what is the resource this user is going to access and what's the action. So if it is an API, then the resource can be derived from the context, from the URL path, and then again HTTP verb would be the action, and before authorization here we need to identify the user, so the subject would be the user. Then PEP will create a XACML request. So that is part of the XACML request response model. So you create a XACML request. XACML request, once again, is an XML payload. You create a XACML request from the information that you know, and then you pass that XACML request to the policy decision point or PDP. Then PDP will start evaluating the policies. First it will load the policies which are relevant to that particular XACML request. So you load all the relevant policies from the policy store, and then it will start evaluating. So once the evaluation is done, PDP will send back the response. So that's a XACML response. If it permits, then the policy enforcement point will let the user access the resource. If not, it will reject it or deny it. Then again, when policy decision point evaluates policies, if it finds there are some missing information in the request to make a decision, then it will look into the policy information point to get the missing information. For example, let's say you have a policy which says to access the foo API, your email address should be from WSO2.com domain. In the XACML request coming from the policy enforcement point, it only includes the username, resource, and the action. Right? So you have a policy which requires user's email address, but user's email address is not there in the XACML request. So there is some missing information. In that case, PDP will talk to any of the registered policy information points and pass a subject and ask for the missing attributes, and the PIP will fetch that attribute somehow and will feed that to the PDP, and now PDP will evaluate the request against the defined policies with the attributes fetched from PIPs, and then make the decision and pass that decision back to the policy enforcement point. So this is at a high level how the XACML architecture works, and the XACML policies are defined in XML. And again, something you need to keep in mind is XACML policies are decoupled from this request response architecture, right? So there's something called XACML REST profile and XACML JSON profile. So both are OSI standards. So that defines how to send XACML requests and XACML responses in a standard REST API using JSON. So the XACML request and response, they can be either in JSON or in XML. WSO2 Identity Server supports both XML based one or JSON based one. For XML based payloads, you can actually use the REST API itself. Other than that, there's no specification which says how to pass a XML request from here to here, right? And yeah, so this can be a remote connection or it can be embedded. You can embed the PDP in your PEP itself, and then this will be local call. Otherwise, PDP can be a central place where you connect to PDP or HTTP. So that's what happens when you use XACML REST profile. Now, when it comes to WSO2 Identity Server, WSO2 Identity Server is a policy administration point. You can log into the Identity Server and create policies. Then policies will get stored in the Identity Server's policy store. Then Identity Server has a policy decision point, and it exposes the policy decision point through a SOAP API and also the standard XACML REST API. And it has a PIP architecture. You can build your own policy information points and plug them into the Identity Server. And out of the box, the policy information point in IIS, it talks to the underneath user store. So WSO2 Identity Server supports mounting multiple user stores. So the default PIP can talk to any LDAP server, Active Directory, or a database. But if you want to talk to other external sources to fetch attributes, then you can develop these policy information point components in Java and then drop that to the Identity Server. And when you register policy information points with WSO2 Identity Server, you need to specify this PIP is registered for these attributes. So you need to declare them beforehand, so PDP knows when there's a missing attribute who to talk to. Okay, so that is how the XACML architecture works with WSO2 Identity Server. And WSO2 API Manager and also WSO2 ESB or the Enterprise Service Bus, both can be used as a policy enforcement point. And also we have developed a XACML servlet filter which can be used in a Java EE container as a policy information point. Okay, so this is how the XACML architecture works. So let me show you a demo. So I'm using WSO2 Identity Server for the demo, and if you hear about WSO2 Identity Server for the first time, it's an open source identity and access management product released under the most business friendly Apache 2.0 license. So you can download the Identity Server from WSO2.com. So there are products, then click on Identity and Access Management, and here you can download the latest version. By the time of this recording, it's IIS 5.3.0. I have already downloaded it to my local machine, and once you download it, you only need to have JDK 1.8 plus and set up the Java. That's all. Then you can start the Identity Server using the command. You need to first go inside the IIS home directory /bin, then start the server with wso2 server.sh. It will take around 40 to 50 seconds to get started in my local machine. and it starts on HTTPS port 9443. That's a default port. If you want, you can change it by modifying the parameter offset in the file repository conf carbon XML. And identity server by default, it comes with an embedded LDAP server, but in a production environment you can deploy it over an LDAP server, Active Directory, or even a database. Okay, it got started. Now I can log into identity server using the URL https localhost 9443, and I log in with my default credentials admin. Okay. Now I am going to show you how to create a XACML policy using WSO2 identity server. So this is our policy administration point. Under entitlement, you have policy administration point. Click on that. So these are set of template policies we are shipping with the product itself. So this can be used to control access during the login flow itself. I already have done a video on this. I'll share that link. It's called conditional authentication. In this demo, I'm going to create a policy from scratch. So click on add new entitlement policy. I'll use a simple policy editor first. Okay, let's give a name. Let's say HR admin access. So we are going to control the access for HR admins. Okay, so you can pick how you want to define this policy. So in this case, I'll define by subject. Okay, and this is applicable. This policy is applicable for anyone having the role HR admin. Okay. Then we can define actions and resources an HR admin should be able to do. Let's say you can do a get on the resource employee. Okay, you can keep the environment one blank. Then you can do a post on employee. You can do a put on employee, and you can also do a delete on employee, but you can only do a get on customer resource. Okay. Customer and employee are two APIs or services. So that's all. It's very simple to create, and it's so simple policy to click on finish. Okay, it will appear here, HR admin access policy. Now before deploying this to the policy decision point, still we are only policy administration point, we can test this policy in an isolated manner. Click on try. So resource, let's say customer, subject, I have user called admin, and doing a get. Yeah, so let's say whether admin can do a get. It's permit. The reason is admin is in. Let's go and see the admin's role. Okay, this is the roles. If you look at the HR admin role, we can see the users. Okay, so admin is in the HR admin role, so he can do a get to the customer resource, and only admin user is in the HR admin role, right? So if we go back here, try. Okay, so he can do a get on customer, but let's see whether he can do a post. Okay, he cannot do a post, right? Because he can only do a get on customer resource, but he should be able to do a get on employee resource or post on employee resource. It's permitted. Delete. Okay, good. Now let's create another policy. let's call it as customer admin access. Okay, so once again it is based on subject, so role has to be customer admin. I already have a role called customer admin in WSO2 admin server. Now for them, they can do a get on employee resource, okay, and put post on customer resource and put on customer resource, get on customer resource, delete on customer resource. Okay, now finish. Once again, it's quite straightforward. Now I have a user here who is in this customer admin role. If you look at customer admin role, view users, you can see the user called Gamage and admin, both of them are in the customer admin role, right? To make things clear, maybe we can remove the admin user from the customer admin role. So admin user is only in the HR admin and the Gamage user is only in the customer admin. So let's view users here and remove the admin user. Okay, done. Now let's go back to the policy administration page, and now if you try this policy, customer admin policy, okay, so now let's see whether the admin user who is not in the customer admin role, can he do a post. Okay, it's not applicable. So this is another decision comes in XACML. So this policy is not applicable for the role of the admin user. Okay, so that is why you get this decision. So it's already denied, it's not applicable. Now if you try to invoke the same thing with Gamage, so Gamage user is in the customer admin role, so this policy is applicable to him. Okay, now you see it's permitted. But if it tries to do a post to employee, the policy is applicable and the result should be denied. Yeah, right. The policy is applicable because the policy is defined for the customer admin role. Okay, now done. Let's so this is still, we are on the policy administration point. Now we can dispatch these two policies to policy decision point or the PDP. So you need to check these two, then click on publish. Yes. So identity server can be used as a policy administration point of multiple policy decision points. So each department may have multiple their own policy decision point, and centrally you can manage policies using the policy administration point. And each WSO2 identity server instance comes with its own PDP tool. So in this particular demo, I am going to publish to my embedded PDP. So you need to check PDP subscriber and click publish. Yes. Okay. Now if you go to policy view here, this is my PDP. You will see these two policies. Now you can try this. So both the policies now will get executed, and this is a real PDP in production. Now if you go to tools here, XACML, try it. Now let's see whether the Gamage user can do a post to employee resource. So Gamage user is in customer admin role, so he should not be able to do this, right? It's denied. Okay. Now let's see whether he can do a get. Yes, you can do a get, right? Now let's say the admin user can do a get. He should be able to, and he should also be able to do a post. Okay, but he should not be able to do a post to customer resource. Right? But the Gamage user should be able to do a, let's say, put to the customer resource. Okay, so this is how you try it out from the identity server itself, but we also have REST API. So let's see how to try this out using the REST API. You can download the curl scripts that I'm going to use to invoke this REST API from my GitHub location, you need to go to github.com/facile-login/aratua. So I'll share this link in this video description. Then you need to go to curl scripts and XACML. Right, so in fact you need to download the complete repo here. You can do a git clone or download this as a zip file. Okay. I already have downloaded that. If you go here, you can find the XACML policies. Before that, I use a file called env.sh, which is at the parent level, like it is at the curl scripts directory, where I store the endpoints and other variables. For this particular demo, I need to have this endpoint defined, right? PDP server URL. So I didn't say host name, then the port number, and it should have this particular URL. So this is the PDP API. This is a standard endpoint. Then again, you need to have the username and password, which is good enough to invoke this API, which is good enough to access the PDP. So I'm using the default username and password, this default admin username and password. Only those three in this file we need to worry about. Now we need to source this file. Then all these values will get loaded into the environment. Done. Now you will find this XACML.json file here. If you look at that, I have renamed it to json.bk. This is what you will download from the GitHub repo, right? So this is what you download, and I have edited it to fit to this particular policies. You can also do that, right? So here you can see, for the action ID I have set post, and for the resource ID I have set customer, and subject ID I have set admin. I have removed the environment attribute, right? So the previous policy you can edit and then build this, previous request, and you can edit it to create this XACML request. So this is in JSON. Okay. Now I'll show you the shell script. Okay, this is a very simple shell script. So I am doing a post to this PDP server URL, which is loaded from the environment, which the values for username, password, and PDP server URL are in the env.sh, and I authenticate with username and password. Then I am passing this XACML.json request to the PDP server URL. Okay. Now if I just run XACML request, it says deny. Okay, so let's look at the request again. It says admin cannot do a post on customer. That is right? So admin should be able to do a get. Okay, make sure, like, so this is it's an issue with the editor. Let me open this in VI. So here, if I change this to get, now it should be permitted, right? Okay, now it's permitted. Now if I change this again, now let's change this to employee. Let's change this to post here. Customer, and if we change this to gum again, then again it should be permitted. Yeah, it should be permitted, right? So that is how you invoke this XACML. How you invoke the XACML REST API. Okay. And let me again show you how to create little complex policy. Let's go back to the policy administration point, add new entitlement policy. Here I will pick the basic policy editor. Okay, this is more like you can define little complex policies than the previous one. Let's give a name. Let's say HR admin policy. Okay, you can pick the rule combining algorithm, whether it's first applicable, deny unless permit, deny overrides, permit overrides, or permit unless deny. So first applicable means whatever the rule which is applicable first will get executed. Now here also we are going to define it by role, right? So you can pick any of these attributes. Here once again I'll do it by role, and you can do a regex match too if you need. Yeah, but I'm using the same policy, like same role name I used before, HR admin. Then we can define a rule. You can define multiple rules. The permit rule, effect is permit. Then let's say you can invoke the resource is equal. Once again you can do a regex or any of these expressions here, right? This is where XACML is very powerful language. It has like 300 plus functions. Resource name, let's say it's HR admin employee. Action is, let's say, get. So you can give multiple to here, right? So you can have one rule here for get, post, delete, and put, right? So you can pick something like at least one member of and give all the actions here. Okay, now role, let's say this policy get applied if the user is in HR admin role, but let's say even if you are permitted to do that, you are in HR admin but you are not in customer admin, right? So this is how you say it. So role is not in customer admin, right? So if you are just in HR admin, you can do that, but if you are in both the roles, then you cannot do a let's say post to the employee endpoint. So here in fact you can pick it from the UI itself. Okay. So this carbon attribute finder modules are also configurable. If you want to fetch these attributes from an external source, you can write your own attribute finder module. So here I'll pick customer admin. Yeah. So this says you can invoke this API, do a post to the employee API only if you are in HR admin but not in customer admin. Then click on add. Now let's add a blank deny rule. So that means if this is not applicable, then the policy will return back deny. Okay. It should be deny. Add. And now we can finish. Okay. So let's try it. This is the one. This is, let's say, employee admin. So we put post there, right? Now since you are just in HR admin, this should be permitted. You can see permitted. Now let's go back here, go to roles, customer admin, assign roles, and add admin user there. Now let's come back and try to evaluate this again. Now it should be denied. Okay, you can see denied because now the administrator is in both the roles, the user is in both the roles. So these are only two wizards. You can go to more complex policies using standard policy editor and then define your own policies. This is much flexible, and if you want, you can use plain like XML to write your own policy here, or else you can export the policies. You click on add new entitlement policy and import an existing policy. Okay, file system, and then pick your policy from here. Yeah, I already have a policy here. Let's go here. Okay, let's copy this to desktop. can just import this policy. Okay, allowed files extensions are .xml. Okay, we will rename this one. Now let's see again. Okay, so this policy should be here now. Yeah, so this one, buy beer authorization policy with time range. Right. So this says you can buy a beer. Beer is your resource, buy is your action, only if your age is greater than 21 and your email address is facilelogin.com. Maybe we can try this out too. If you go to users here, users, let's say admin, let's view administrators age. So age is not listed here. I can add age through the claim management. I did a different demo on how to do this claim management stuff. I'll share that video too. And if you go to claims, we have date of birth. Yeah, let's change this to age and support by default. Okay, now if you go back here, it should appear under the administrator age. Let's give 25. Okay, and also let's change the administrator's email address. It's looking for an email address from facilelogin.com in the policy. So this means admin should be able to buy a beer. Okay, let's go back to the policy administration point. Let's try this policy out. Resource is beer, subject is admin, action is buy. We need to pass some like any character here. Now you can buy a beer, right? So now if you go back here and change the administrator's age to 21 or 18 and try it again, it should be denied. Okay, yes. Now this is not just checking the age, but it also checks the time. So let's see the time too. So it says you can buy the beer from 10 AM to 8 PM. So now my local time is 10:49, so I am permitted to buy a beer. So this concludes a demo today, and if you have any questions, please feel free to post them under the comment section below this video. Thank you very much.